Jonas! How is it going, everybody? My name is DeMarco, and welcome to episode 10 of the Push Start podcast. And boy, are we pushing something! Pushing a lot of buttons. My buttons. We're pushing all of my buttons thanks to Nintendo. I thought that I was going to have an angry rant when we did the Red Wolf Renegade show, which you could check. I am on every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I thought I was going to have my angry rant for the week when I was discussing the idea of buying games with early access periods and why I'm completely against that. No! Lo and behold, Nintendo had to come out just a day later and decide to just rain on all of that. So we're gonna bring it back out. We're getting angry, DeMarco. And jeez Louise, it's just absolutely scummy. And today I have the absolute perfect co-host for this, to join me for this episode, and that is Assassin. Hello, Assassin.
What's up, guys? Boy, did Nintendo wait, can I curse?
we are a adult, a kids-friendly show, here on this channel, so.
Okay, alright, fine. Well, did Nintendo fumble the bag this week? Holy mother of God.
Yeah.
They have screwed the pooch, man.
Oh my gosh. Alright, and we're gonna get into all the reasons why, and we're going to get into, it's also going to touch on, I think, just the broader sense, too, of why I'm incredibly against all of these things going on. Anytime, I don't care what company it is, I'm gonna lower the music here just a bit. anytime any company turns around and says, oh, we're going to charge you for X, we're going to charge you for Y, and the gaming community goes, hey, that's fine, I don't mind paying an extra $10. This is why we're going to be getting into it. Yikes, Nintendo. Nintendo, I genuinely do think they just kind of screwed the entire industry. But welcome, Slowlark. Welcome, That Blue Number. You're third. Yeah, what the hell? Stormage, use those emotes. Channel member, thank you as well. And Lancelot, glad to see you consistently uploading. Must be difficult. My goal is to have this show every week or some variation of it, right? If I decide I really can't do a podcast today where I'm talking about blah, 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 then maybe I'll do a live stream of a game. Especially if there's a recent game. I was even considering today, hey, checking out South of Midnight. But I wanted to do this because, of course, Nintendo is just absolutely yucky. Absolutely yucky. And we're going to dive into that. But first, Assassin, I know that you've been playing South of Midnight. Speaking of that game. Hello, Cole. Speaking of that game, and I was checking out just before the show started. I was getting an idea, and I have it up here. The game right now is generally favorable on Metacritic. It's sitting at a 78 based on 60 critic reviews. I know that Metacritic is up and down, right? Sometimes people like it, and they swear by it. Usually when it's... Have you noticed this? Usually when Metacritic numbers are convenient, people use it, and then when it goes against their argument, they're like, nah, well, you can't use Metacritic, it's just a bunch of people trolling over there anyway.
I've noticed there's been a lot of discussion and debate whether Metacritic or OpenCritic is the one to, like, pull up review scores and say, oh, well, this one's the better site because there's less so-and-so on. And it's just, like, guys, I get we're human, we want to put a score on, you know, something that we like or we don't like. But at the same time, the score doesn't mean that you have to follow what the implications are. I mean, like I think we've discussed this before. Like, there are plenty of games that are like a 5 or a 6 or a 7 out of 10 that are just absolutely amazing, that are worth like an 8 or 9. Like, I think, was it you or Red that brought up Mad Max? Because I'm pretty sure that one is another one, right? Where it didn't get reviewed very favorably, but now everybody treats it as like a cult classic. Or one of mine, Quantum Break. It's just...
I think we had discussed this on the Renegade Realm podcast, and I had brought up Arkham Origins. Like, Arkham Origins was a 79 or something like that, but it's genuinely a great game. And I'm gonna just say, too, the multiplayer, I swear by the multiplayer. It was a 3v3v2, where 2 people played Batman and Robin, 3 people played thugs on Bane's side or Joker's side. And it was clunky as all hell. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was incredibly clunky, but man, was that like, it was unique, and I really loved it. It was fun. It was fun. But that game got like a 79 on Metacritic, so there you go. It's use it when it works for you. Ignore it when it doesn't.
I'm gonna be honest. I wish they had brought that back for Arkham Knight. Like, with the updated graphics and the bigger playing field, like playing inside Gotham City as members of Joker or Bane or maybe even Penguin's criminal gangs, and then having Batman, Nightwing, and maybe Robin or Batgirl.
Hunting them all down.
Well, Robin or Red Hood, like all four, like a 4v4v4. Like, that would have been amazing if it was done by Rocksteady at the time. But
I could see it. Honestly, that would be pretty sick. Yeah, Rocksteady. Well, we knew Rocksteady didn't want to focus on the multiplayer, and of course, I think it was Splash Damage that did the multiplayer anyway. So when it came back around, it was Splash Damage. So when because I can remember that logo. You know, the reason I remember that is because I just distinctly remember the logo when you booted up the game. I think their logo showed, which I can only imagine means they were responsible for multiplayer, because obviously WB Montreal made the single player portion of the game. But I might be misremembering that a little bit. But I do know they sell their logo. Maybe they just assisted on the game too, right? So, so South of Midnight, it so far is doing pretty good. We're going to, yes, you are missing out entirely. Yes, it's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. In fact, I think you could probably get it right now for $9 on Steam for the entire trilogy. Not Arkham Origins, but Asylum City and Night. So there's your value. You want to talk about like some of Nintendo's ripping you off because their games never go on sale. Pick up the whole Arkham trilogy for $9. Actually, Actually, you know what's
That's
funny?
not a bad deal at all.
You know what's funny? You can get all 3 Metro games, you can get all 3 Arkham games, and you can get all 3 Mass Effect in the Legendary Collection. If all of those are on sale, you could get 9 games for the same price as 1 Nintendo game upgrade. Because you were just telling me, I know I'm jumping the gun. I want to hear about South of Midnight, but it's just relevant. You were just telling me how their upgrade is $20.
$20, man.
$20. And you can, for I think it's 25. For $25, you get all of Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Yes.
With the
you
DLC.
Get the entire Mass Effect collection.
You get
for $20.
No. You get 9 games. You can
Wait, 9?
if all of them are on sale, you can get all 3 Metro games, all 3 games from the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and all the games in the Arkham collection for $25.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
9 games for $25, and those are remastered versions, mind you. Or you can buy 1 Nintendo Switch game for $20 because screw you, give me money. Nintendo.
Someone, I'm sure someone in chat could correct me, but I'm pretty sure you can also get the Master Chief Collection between $20 and $30. That's Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach, ODST, all the multiplayer maps, like all the DLC for those games. Like, it's insane how much Nintendo is charging for a godforsaken upgrade. Like, you're telling me, because I've always wanted to play Breath of the Wild at 60 frames, right? That's the one reason why I haven't fully finished it. That's why I played for 2 hours, the frames just get to me, and it's just like, I can't do this anymore. So I've been waiting for this 60 FPS quote-unquote patch or upgrade, but for $20, man? Bruh, I just picked up Persona 5 Royal for $20 on Amazon. Like, what are you... and that's 100 to 200 hours worth of content. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand.
We're giving a bit of a tease. We're giving a bit of a tease for the Nintendo rant. We're gonna circle back around to this, but I do want to talk about something positive because I just released a video the other day where I was sort of looking at the Elder Scrolls and the future of that game, and I was excited to... It's interesting, whenever you release a video like that, you know sort of what's coming where, and I'll circle back to my point on this, but whenever you release a video like that, you know it's going to sort of reach your audience that kind of follows whatever your personality is. That's why they subscribe to you. So I always try to be critical when I talk about games, like even Redfall. I always use this as sort of my benchmark, my example that, like, yeah, I am critical even of Bethesda stuff, but I gave Redfall a 4 out of 10 when I reviewed that game. But, so, I always like to think, and even with this Elder Scrolls video, right, I acknowledge, I was like, yeah, there's problems with this, like, I understand that this is the issue, but this is my thing, and I'm not sure if Bethesda can fix this thing. If you want to know what that thing is, go check out the video if you haven't already. But, so, I always like to think that I'm fairly critical, and when you launch a video, you get your audience to watch all of that, and then it reaches the broader public, and then you, like, now all I see coming in from comments on that video are, Bethesda's dead, this sucks, this is terrible, here's awful. And my point of bringing all of this up is to say that I lost the point. Do you see it? There it goes. I had a point.
I saw it.
It's there it goes. Anyway, so we're teasing a little bit of the Nintendo talk. I wanted to start, that was what I was going with. I wanted to start with something positive because I generally like to sort of stay, I don't like to get angry about things in gaming. I think there's so much to be excited about. I think there's so many great things. So I do want to kick it off. We'll circle back to Nintendo, of course, but I want to kick it off with South of Midnight, which, again, on Metacritic, it's doing about what I expected, which was around 80. I even thought, I speculated maybe it dropped below 80. But you've played it. You've started playing South of Midnight, right?
Yes, sir, I did. I'm about 20 minutes already into chapter 3.
Okay, so how much time do you think that is?
I'd say that's about 2.5 hours, but there's a total of like 13 chapters, and I think there's an epilogue at the end, so technically 14 chapters. Okay. When they said it was like a 12 to 15 hour game, they were not kidding. The only reason it's
Gotcha.
taking me a bit longer is because I'm actually going around and looking for the collectibles, which are actually they're actually pretty interesting. Like learning
Okay.
about the world, about South of Midnight's world, and the magic and the folklore behind it all.
So when
It's
you
pretty interesting.
so is that mostly what the collectibles are in it, that you're going around and you're learning a little bit more about like the
Yes.
actual. Okay. So are
Yeah.
you learning South of Midnight's version of the folklore, or is it just straight up saying like, here is an urban legend from, you know?
Oh no, I'm learning South of Midnight's version, but they
Okay.
do take heavy inspiration from real life folktale here in the South.
Right. That's actually kind of cool. That is now. Do you get any? Because I have no idea. Right. I haven't played it. I really haven't looked too much into South of Midnight. It was always that thing
Yeah.
that I saw and I went, man, that's a cool art style. I really like what I'm seeing. I'll probably, like, if I have spare time, I would probably play that. But obviously, my time, as Holly, yourself, Red, anybody that I speak to offline can tell, I'm horrible at time management. So there you go. But so I know nothing about the game. Do you get any other rewards for that exploration, or is it really just locked to? Because one thing I'll say, for example, I really enjoyed like Wolfenstein. When you go off the beaten path for Wolfenstein, you find like little collectible statues that'll give you permanent armor buffs or permanent health buffs and stuff like that. And it wasn't make or break. It'd be like you get 5% extra armor, right? But or 10%, but I really did like that type of system. So is it anything else, or is it really just the lore?
It's so there's technically there's two different types of collectibles. There's the what's called the readables, which is more of the lore content, learning about the characters and the region and the folklore itself. And the other one is mainly just I don't really want to I guess it's not really a spoiler if I tell you what it's called, right?
No.
So there's these collectibles called floofs, and they actually help you upgrade your abilities as a weaver. As a weaver, that you can untangle, the world's actual like mythical strands, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, you have to use magic to fight the Haints, which is a result of what happens when those strands get knotted, usually by a terrible event or something tragic that's happened to a particular person, a particular area. Even the animals can be affected.
Okay.
So the floofs are a way to upgrade your magic. And if you actually take a look around and explore a bit, you'll actually find a lot of floofs hidden around in the actual area.
That's pretty cool.
I've been actually... So what I use is that if you... There's this actual, like... you know how Skyrim had the clairvoyance spell? Where if you hold down RT,
it was the most
give you
useless
a
spell
path?
in the whole game.
Yeah. Well, not for my first playthrough, it wasn't. But anyway, so there's a similar mechanic in South of Midnight. So whenever I see two different paths or whatever may look like a second path, I use that particular spell, I guess I should call it, or that sixth sense, and then I go towards the second path where it's not lit up, and I go,
right.
Oh, this is some good piece of lore. Ooh, some extra flute so I can upgrade my pull or my push ability. Like, this is actually pretty rewarding.
That's actually probably, especially for a game like that, where I think most people are probably going to want to go through it for the environment and the storytelling and the, sort of like those. That's the type of game that I think the people who are going to enjoy it are playing it for those reasons, right? To find the lore and to do all that stuff. So that just seems like an incredibly useful feature for that type of game, because obviously then you're not getting locked out of, oh, well, I really wanted to go explore and now I jumped off this ledge and I can't get back, and the game progressed and I'm sort of at this point of no return, which infuriates me to no end, because I am always the person that says I need to go in that way, I need to go that way, that way, and if I miss it, I'll reload. I don't care. I'll go back an hour. I'll say, no, I missed this one thing over here. I know it was over there, and I thought I could get to it that way. So I'll always go back. But I like that. That's a good feature.
just a word of warning. There is no going back in South of Midnight. I don't know if I haven't found it yet or if I'm not looking in the right space in the UI, but I thought I missed a collectible, because they actually tell you how many collectibles are in each chapter.
Okay.
So
okay.
I got the first collectible and then the third one, but I skipped the second, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tried to reload the chapter, and I just couldn't find a way to do it. Thankfully, I just turned back around and, the second collectible was just hidden on top of a barrel that I thought had nothing on it.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, if you're going specifically to collect all the collectibles, which is an achievement, yeah, make sure that you double check before you go into the next area.
Gotcha. No going back. Good to know. So my really, I do wanna just make sure that we have plenty of time to get through all the Nintendo stuff, and obviously that's what people are here for with the title and the thumbnail and everything.
Yeah.
But what the other thing I want to is I don't expect South of Midnight from what I've been seeing, and it's unfortunate because I think Compulsion has always been that studio for me that, like, they have a lot of potential, but there's something in each of their games that's like, well, it's good, but it doesn't have just that extra oomph. It needs that one little push to really bring them sort of into the mass audience spotlight, if you will. So what type of gamers, what type of people do you think should take a second look at South of Midnight? Like, what type of interests would those gamers have, or what type of things would they be into, or experiences do they like that should check it out?
Well, for all the people on Xbox who have been saying that they've been wanting Microsoft to make a PlayStation-like game where it's third person, it's action adventure, it's heavily story-driven, character-based.
Okay.
From the 2.5 chapters that I've played so far, South of Midnight seems like it is that game. Like, when I was telling you about the collectibles and not necessarily being able to reload the chapters, it kind of brought up The Last of Us, because The Last of Us actually had a similar system, where it encourages you as Joel and Ellie to go around any particular town that you're in, any particular base that you were in, and, explore what happened before the outbreak in The Last of Us, right?
Right, yeah.
So South of Midnight is actually kind of in a similar way, except it's not using it's not using a dreary atmosphere. It's more of a hopeful coming of age community based feeling, right? Like in the first opening cutscene where Hazel argues with her mother, which is actually known because it was shown at the developer direct, right? You actually see that sense of bond and community that she has, not just with her mother, but with the track team that she was a part of, with the neighbors that she has, her sense of family, right? So, if you're looking for a narrative-based action-adventure game, South of Midnight is definitely the one for you. Like, it is... I'm not gonna say it's a Game of the Year contender right now, because I want to actually beat the game before I come to a full conclusion of it. But right now, it's got me hooked, man. This is probably the first game since Persona 3 Reload where I'm just like, okay, I want to go back. I really want to go back. I want to finish this. I want to play it. I want to get everything. I want to get all the achievements. Like, this game has got me hooked, man.
Gotcha.
Like, I thought it was going to be like, oh, okay, I'll just play through it, and yeah, I liked it a lot. It's like, okay, I really want to go back to it, man. It's pretty good.
All right.
Right now, I would give it like an 8.5 out of 10, but I'll tell you the actual score once I'm actually done with it. But it's really good, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear. I'm happy for Compulsion, and I really hate to, but the saddest part about it, in some ways, is one, they kind of got screwed by the Nintendo Direct for sure. But unrelated to that, which again we'll be getting into in just a little bit, but unrelated to that, it's sort of unfortunate in this day and age of gaming that, one of the thought that keeps coming to my head about it is that for all the reviews and all the things that I've seen about South of Midnight, and this is a good thing, mind you, it's just kind of a sad reflection of the state of the industry as a whole, but there hasn't been one comment about DEI, inclusivity, like, oh, you have a female protagonist, or anything of that nature surrounding this game, which is fantastic for the game, but it just goes to, I think, emphasize...
Oh, they tried.
I'm sure people did, but like now when we're seeing the reviews coming out about it, right? That's not the comments that are coming from people that are reviewing the game and critiquing it. So, it's great for this game, but I think it just goes to sort of show that those issues, it really does come down to better writing and just not just not force feeding your agendas into our games, because we can tell when they are, and it's not appropriate, and we don't want it because we're trying to escape, and all that stuff that's already been talked about in the past. There's a way to get those messages. I've seen the
opposite, actually.
Have you?
I've actually seen the opposite. Like, I've seen on Twitter and Reddit, like, people have, like me, they've played a couple, 2 to 3 hours of the game so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing a lot of, why aren't the review scores higher? I'm seeing a lot of people saying this game is actually very good. But I'm seeing a lot of, like, divisive reactions towards the actual review scores.
That's
like, people saying that it
good.
should be higher. I'm not just like, wait, what? That usually doesn't happen at all.
No, usually it's review bombing. Yeah.
It's usually review bombing, but in this case, it's like, hey, this game so far is amazing. Why is it this low?
I wonder if it's because a lot of people are just getting their hands on it, and because a lot of times, you know, people are just getting their hands on it, and then they realize, all right, yeah, it might be a shorter experience if it's 12 hours comparative, like relatively speaking, but then they
Absolutely,
start. Yeah, now they're 8 hours, 9 hours in.
I'm also seeing a lot of people saying, like, hey, like, yeah, I didn't review very well, but I'm still going to give it a shot.
Yeah,
it's on Game Pass, so why not?
Which, again, it's I said this on Tuesday, but it's a great Game Pass game. Like, it's really one of those titles that fits well in there. You're like, hey, I'm subscribed to Game Pass. Why am I subscribed to Game Pass? What am I getting? And then you see, oh, this just dropped, and I know that there's going to be, I don't know, Fable coming out in a couple months, and there's going to be this other game coming out in a couple months. I'll check out South of Midnight for now while I wait for those other games to come through. So it's a perfect filler to help people keep their subscription. Unlike me, like I dropped mine, but I was keeping mine because of Call of Duty, and
it's definitely a great game to play if you're waiting for something like Expedition 33 or Doom: The Dark Ages.
Oh, dude!
Like if you want a story-based game, yeah,
that's this month. Doom's this month,
man.
Wait, is it April or May? I forgot.
It's May.
Oh, I got myself excited for nothing. But that's okay. I need to bring my mood down.
If it was April, man, do you realize I'd have to play South of Midnight, Doom, The Dark Ages, and Expedition 33 in a month?
And possibly Oblivion.
Oh, okay. I knew you were going to bring that up.
Possibly Oblivion. So I do want to touch on that really, really quick before we get... This is going to be the last thing before we get into the Nintendo stuff. But just really, really quick. Yes. Oblivion Remake is still supposedly a thing. Detective Seed has quadrupled down on his claims that there's going to be an announcement either this week, which means tomorrow, right? Because they're not announcing something at 7 p.m. So either tomorrow or sometime next week, he's tripling and quadrupling down and quintupling down even, sextupling down, I would go as far to say, on the fact that it is happening probably next week. I don't think they'd make an announcement on a Friday because they're going to want to continue that engagement throughout the week. So just if you think about how marketing would work. So... And then it will also release the same week, which would make sense if they want to do like a Tuesday announcement and then sort of a Thursday release, or a Monday announcement and a Thursday release, or a Friday release or something like that. Could totally see that happening. He still says it is. He said that the source that told him was also correct about a bunch of other things, including Doom and some other stuff. He said it's the same source that gave me that information. So allegedly, it's still coming. Detective Seed, don't like you for ruining that for the developers, because that would have been probably one of the coolest drops in gaming history, in my honest opinion. Yes, I would say that would beat out Hi-Fi Rush, and Detective Seed has taken that away. So I don't like you, but I'm still excited. And also, I don't not like him on a personal level.
You just don't like league culture in general.
I don't like league culture in general.
Understand.
If I met him, I'd still shake his hand, but I don't like league culture. Because he took that away. Like, that would have been the most insane announcement to be like, oh, hey, it's Tuesday, Oblivion Remake. Oh, by the way, it's on Friday. Here's all the footage. Like, enjoy. Or just to say it's out. Come out on a Tuesday. Boom! Like, that's... To keep that secret for that long, something as big as Oblivion, like Hi-Fi Rush, I could see how that gets by. Something like Oblivion, that doesn't just sneak by. Obviously, it didn't. But, like, if it did, that would have been really cool. You know what else is really cool? Not Nintendo! Hey...
Absolutely
suck. So, Nintendo. I know everyone probably wants to see a little bit of rage bait. I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant. Are you ready, Assassin? Are you ready?
For Rant Marco?
Rant
Absolutely.
Marco. Okay. All right. So, Nintendo Switch. I'm gonna give my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. But, Nintendo Switch Direct. The entire time I was watching this, I thought it was really damn impressive. I loved the first party games. I was looking at the Donkey Kong game, excuse me.
Yes.
I was looking at Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I was like, holy hell, this looks incredible. I was thinking Hulk Ultimate Destruction, which for those of you who don't know, I loved that game when I was a kid. And I was watching him punch through walls and throwing rocks and going through the ground and just destroying the environment. The terrain destruction was like a nerfed version of Battlefield. And what this is, probably actually a better version because he's going through the ground, not just buildings. It was incredible. The third-party support also in particular. Mario Kart looked great, but that was obviously soiled. The third-party support in particular was incredibly impressive with games like 007 getting announced at the Nintendo Switch Direct, which means it's probably also coming out on that platform, I would have to imagine. You have Hitman that's coming over. You have Hitman that's coming over. You have an exclusive From Software game that's basically just... From Software said, oh, we can't make Bloodborne 2? Okay, Sony. Hey, Nintendo, you want Bloodborne 2? And Nintendo was like, hell yeah, we'll take it. So you have that. You have, oh man, you have, I think, Civilization 7 was another one that's
Borderlands 4 on launch day.
Yep.
In September.
Yeah, so.
Elden Ring started it off. Cyberpunk
Elden Ring
showed up.
Cyberpunk 2077. Yes.
Like, the third-party support is just insane, bro.
Absolutely incredible. And that's just the tip of it.
Up.
That's just the tip of it, right? Because once this thing comes out, and for example, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Starfield Switch. I wouldn't be. I think we're going to see Elder Scrolls if Elder Scrolls Remake comes out, I think that'll be a Switch, right? So there's so many more things that's going to come out on this. I was watching this whole presentation, and I'm not a Nintendo person. I have not owned a Nintendo Switch, or I've not owned a Nintendo system since the original Wii, not the Wii U. I avoided that entirely. The Nintendo Wii
God.
was the last Nintendo system that I owned. And I didn't buy the Switch because I was like, there's going to be more powerful hardware that comes out at some point. And so I said, okay, Switch 2. And by the time I was ready to buy a Switch, the Switch 2 was close enough. So I'm watching this, and I went, damn, Nintendo, you got me. I'm going to pick up a Switch 2. Gonna do it.
And then
there were some really cool features. The Nintendo camera, I was laughing the whole time. So they have the C button on the Joy-Cons now. They should have renamed it the K button for kill my frames. Because, oh my god, was that... They show
You saw the frame rate too, right?
They
showing all those games.
They show this chat functionality. Which is a cool feature, I'm gonna say. It's a cool feature. Anything that sort of brings gamers together and makes it feel like you're sitting there playing with your friends... I'm on board for that. We're in an increasingly separated ecosystem as far as games, increasing digital world. So anything that tries to bring people together, listen, I'm on board for it. Then they show off that you could share your games with your friends and see it from their perspective, and you could, and then they show that, and there's 4 people at the bottom. It's just a knockoff of Discord, but a less functional one that you have to pay for because you need the Nintendo Plus subscription, their internet package. And then it shows it, and everything is running at 4 frames per second on there. And I was looking at it going, they actually let this show. And then they have, I was going to use the word audacity, but they have the gall to say you could even show it in full screen, and they blow it up. And that doesn't mean that more resources are dedicated to making that function work better. No, it still runs at 8 frames per second, but now it's taking up your whole screen. And I'm just laughing. And then of course you have the cheesy Nintendo stuff, and I love Nintendo for this type of thing. I like Nintendo because you have the people.
At least they try to experiment and try to innovate a little bit. They go out of their way to be like, okay, what if we did this? It may or may not work, but they try anyway.
Do
like
it.
The camera.
So they're bringing back the iToy. Do you remember the iToy? You're too young for the iToy, aren't you, Assassin?
I'm too young for the iToy, but I do remember. So I know a lot of people have been like, "Hey, isn't this kind of like the Xbox One reveal with the camera and
the Kinect,
the DMR and shit?" Like
the Kinect. No, it goes back further. It goes back further. There was for PlayStation 2, you could buy a thing called the iToy. Now, I had the iToy, and it was actually really cool because at the time, that was a completely new concept, and you see yourself on camera, and then you're playing games. Like, I distinctly remember this one where a bunch of ninjas would come out. There were like 4 spots, and they'd run out, and then they'd jump, and you have to punch them as they're coming around. And it was just like the most fun, absolutely. There was a game called Wishy Washy, and you had to polish windows. The most absolutely absurd games coming out of this iToy. Nintendo decided, hey, that was really cool, let's do that. And then they have these ridiculous bubbles as you're playing Mario Party, where you could see your friends' faces going... and it just looks so silly. It looks... and then they show them where you could have your full body, and you could be, like, punching the bricks with these other things. And you look at it and you go, okay, there's going to be 5 games that use this functionality, and only one of them will actually do it in a cool way, and then it's never going to be looked at again. But like you were saying, Assassin, Nintendo does it. And I love them for that. Like, they just look at this and they go, yeah, somebody has to be like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. Let's do it. Right?
They do that once every generation. They have either one idea or one piece of tech that they do that is just completely weird and stupid, but everyone's just like, yeah, that's Nintendo. That's the Nintendo bit of weirdness showing itself. Every gen, every time.
And it's so good. It's just so... But Nintendo, they just... And I love that. I gotta be honest, I love them for it. It was the... Like... Yeah, I want to see... Like, I just absolutely... want to see all of my friends' faces just plastered close up, smiling, because that's how we all play games. That's how everybody plays games. Thank you, Nintendo, for making me laugh harder than I have in a very long time during that. And I was watching Jacksepticeye. He actually was streaming that event, and oh my god!
You should have told me that you were watching it. I would have joined you. I would have been laughing with you.
The things coming out of...
Because the whole time I was like, what the fuck? The whole time.
But hey, Nintendo does it. So anyway, so I got some good laughs in. I'm in a good mood because Nintendo made me laugh. They're showing off cool third-party games. Hollow Knight was there. Hollow Knight Silk Song with the release date, and that was just shoved into this montage of game trailers for this year. Just shoved in with this montage. And we went, oh, release year, sorry. But it's this year. It's this year. And
it is this year. Xbox even confirmed it's this year.
And that was just thrown in through a montage of games, so that was really, really strange. But it was that meme where the guy's on the couch going...
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the clips on Twitter, like, people... Like, they were just normally reacting to the Direct, and then all of a sudden Silk Song shows up, and they freak the fuck out. They fall out of their chairs and go, why did you put that in there? What does this mean? I just see so many people's reaction to freaking out at that realization, like, holy shit, Silk Song actually was here.
Yeah.
And it's this year, but give me a date, dang it.
Not yet. Nope, you gotta wait for that. You gotta wait till after the Oblivion remake for that, which honestly, I don't know. Yeah,
thank you, Team Cherry. Thank you for that.
They knew. They were like, well, if we announce it right now, we know that Oblivion's coming next week, so let's just hold the release date, let people get excited about Oblivion, then do the release date. Because the Oblivion remake's coming. So, anyway, I digress. You have me laughing, you have me smiling. Great third-party support. The first-party games look awesome, too. Donkey Kong looks great. Mario Kart looks really impressive. The hardware itself was pretty impressive, I think. They have 120 frames per second that the console can get.
What did you think of the mouse support, though?
The what?
What did you think about the mouse? The Joy-Con mouse?
So yeah, the Joy-Con mouse, I mean, I saw a lot of people that were saying, like, I could just feel the carpal tunnel as I'm watching you interact with that. And I think that's really funny. But I will say, I think that feature impressed me because I'm curious about the applications for games like Civilization or like Baldur's Gate or like an XCOM.
Or Age of Empires.
Or Age of Empires. Exactly. Where having that kind of mouse support is just a better way to experience these titles. Especially, I think, of something like Civilization, which is confirmed, right? That was one of those games. For that purpose, I think it's actually pretty cool. The way it was being used in Metroid, when Metroid was being shown, was also pretty neat as well. So I think it's a cool feature. The one thing is you're going to need your Nintendo camera with your Nintendo Joy-Con with your Nintendo Switch, and they need to sell me a Nintendo table. I need a Nintendo table. Because if I'm sitting on a couch playing Nintendo Switch, how am I using the thing as a mouse? Unless they sell me the Nintendo table.
Honestly, I think that's just their way of selling to the PC market. They didn't really think about where you would put it.
No, I need my Nintendo table.
I think they just want you to put it on the couch. So if you're on your couch, you're sitting to the right. You put it on the pillow right in front of you, or the couch itself, and then you just use your legs as the table.
I'll just stick them up and I'll go. Here we are playing Civilization, baby.
On my couch, using the mouse on my leg.
Oh dear God!
Mouse on my leg.
Yeah, as soon as Nintendo decides, I want the Nintendo camera and the Nintendo table bundle package, and I want that to come with the.
Don't give him any more ideas.
The Nintotomin. Would you buy a Nintotomin? So you could rest your feet.
No.
A Nintotomin.
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really excited for the mouse support, but for those that want to play games like Civ or those type of real-time strategy games, and they prefer to use a mouse, I'm glad that you're able to use it. It's just a mouse is not for me. Yeah. Even if I go to PC eventually, which hopefully I will in the next few years.
You should.
Once Sony decides to do Day and 1 on PC, I'm still gonna use a controller. I'm just gonna use the PC hardware as it should be. Running 140 frames per second at 8K on my 7090
at 8K. Good luck at 8K. But
8K, yeah.
I don't know if your eyes can even
not even a real
see
thing
at that point on a monitor. But
I don't think we can.
I don't think not on a monitor, not on a screen size. So the cool thing is we're talking about this, right? And I'm getting myself re-excited for the Nintendo Switch. But what they didn't keep. Oh, and there's other things too. Like it could play games at 4K in docked mode. It's upscaling. It has DLSS in it, and we don't know if that's some kind of like proprietary version of DLSS or whatever. That's totally fine if it is. But so some cool hardware in there. Much bigger screen, 1080p. They went with LCD instead of OLED, which was weird, but okay, fine.
4K upscaling. You can play Metroid at 1080p, 120 frames, which. If you play FPS games, you prefer more frames than graphics. I mean, let's just be honest. I would rather play Halo at 120 frames and screw the graphics. I don't care if it looks like dog crap. I just want it to be smooth and buttery, it's good for Metroid. I don't think a Metroid game at 60 to 120 frames per second. I can't believe it took this long, but hey, at least Nintendo caught up.
It sounds great. And then they intentionally, everything sounded great up until they decided to announce the price, which they kept behind bars intentionally. So we're gonna break this down. I'm gonna break this down.
Wait. Before you do, would you say? So now that you mentioned it was just the price that got everybody pissed off, would you say that this is Nintendo's PlayStation E3 2006 conference when they showed the price?
Oh God, no! I think this is worse, and I'll tell you why.
Like this is a combination of that press conference and the Xbox One conference in just the worst way possible.
I think this one's worse. So
worse than both.
Yeah. I think this one. So I don't remember. Well, I'll talk about it. But so they saved the price for last. Now. At first, a lot of people, like I know Holly. How's it going, Holly? Hi, DB as well. Influent, welcome. Storm Mage. Cole, I saw you earlier. Slow Lark. And Fark, welcome as well. DB, it's good to see you. So, they announced the price at $450. And at first I went, okay, that sounds reasonable. And then I realized... First, I said, that's reasonable. Then I realized that you can buy a Steam Deck for $399. So it's $50 cheaper to buy a Steam Deck, which is about the same. I think it actually has more storage on it. I think it's 512 gigabytes potentially instead of 256.
Wait, is it $399? I thought the lowest, or the I thought the cheapest Steam Deck was like $4.99 or $5.59, something like that.
Wasn't it? I will tell you right now. It might actually be $50 more. Maybe I'm getting it backwards. Maybe it's $50 more.
Maybe. Yeah. But no, I get you. I get this.
Nope, Steam Deck $399. I was right. $399.
Okay, yeah, that's
200.
Yeah, completely fair. Completely fair to like compare the two. They're handhelds. They're both competing for the handheld market. It's
They're both LCD screens.
acceptable to do it.
Both 256 gigabyte storage. Now,
Yes.
mind you, and they both. This one actually has a little bit more battery life. It says 2 to 8 hours. I think the Nintendo Switch battery life came out to 6, if I'm not mistaken. So that has a worse battery. And on top of that, you're 2 to 6. So it has 2 hours less battery life if you're using all the minimal settings, of course. So it has worse battery, higher price. It's only 60 hertz on the Steam Deck, so alright, you're only getting 60. But hey, listen, do you really need to play Metroid on your tiny screen at 120? I don't think so. So there you go.
Well, I would, but yeah.
Some people might want it, but
some people, yeah. But anyway.
But you also get access to things like you can get your entire Xbox library, you can get Game Pass on that, you can get all of your Steam library, and then on top of that, you have access to a lot of PlayStation games too. Because a lot of PlayStation games are now coming to Steam, which you can get through the Steam Deck. Versus your Nintendo console, which is charging you $450, $500 if you want to bundle in for less powerful hardware that's going to have less games on it at lower performance. That sound like a good deal to you? I don't think that sound like a good deal to me. I don't want to pay $450 on that. Not even close. It pushes me further to wait for whatever Xbox's handheld is going to be, personally.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, and...
Is that worth Mario Kart to you? $50 extra? So you could play...
No, because, well, for me, I don't prefer digital download bundle consoles. That's just me. I prefer to...
Well, it's $100 more if you want the digital download console. Oh, you're talking about the Steam Deck, though.
No, I'm just talking in general.
Okay.
I'm just saying in general. I do not like getting download bundles in consoles at all. I don't know if you remember the PS4 bundle a few years ago. It had The Last of Us, Horizon, and God of War all in a bundle, and I think they were all digital, right? For like $2.99. I didn't get it because I don't like digital. I don't like getting games digitally.
Right.
So for me, like I get it. I completely understand everybody's upset about the prices for their first party and some of their third party, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, the Switch 2, I'm not too upset about, you know, the price of the console. $400 to $450 is what everyone kind of expected it to be. I would have preferred it to be $400 personally, because that would have been the perfect sweet spot.
Now
right?
It's actually competitive.
Yes, exactly. It's competitive with actually
Because
whatever Xbox will be doing with the PlayStation Portal and the Steam Deck. If they had done it $50 less, right?
Well, what I'm gonna say is all Microsoft needs to do at this stage, because we know that their handheld is coming out, they have to just release something at about the same price, or put it at $500. Put a handheld at $500. Make it on par with the Steam Deck OLED, which is $549. And that one has 90 refresh rate, 3 to 12 hours of battery life, 1280 by 800 HDR OLED display. So for $500, make it $50 cheaper than that. And then put out like a 1 terabyte model too. And now you have access to also, congrats, now you can also get your Game Pass on that, right? Because we'll get into Nintendo's price of games, which I know all of you have already heard about. But now you have something like, what is the justification? Is Mario Party and getting locked in Nintendo where nothing ever goes on sale? Is Mario Party and Mario Kart and Donkey Kong really worth getting locked into that hardware when you know that they're just completely and utterly price gouging you?
I'm going to be devil's advocate here and say yes and no. Yes, because, well, let's just get this clear. Nintendo's first party very rarely misses. I would say maybe 2 out of 10 times they rarely miss. Like, for God's sakes, in the past 10, 15 years, they've had a Game of the Year contender.
It's true.
But at the same time, that doesn't give them the justification to jump the price $10 to $20. Like, I remember this post clearly. The Nintendo Switch has 30 games that have sold 1 million copies or more. They have at least 6 or 7 first-party games that have done more than 20 million copies.
Mm-hmm.
They have no reason to up the price of their games. I know some people have argued, well, they just did it because they wanted to be prepared for the tariffs coming from the US, right?
Yeah,
But
I see a lot of people are suddenly economic experts online now.
But I would argue yes, we've all known the tariffs were coming for 2 to 3 months, right? But here's the thing. Nintendo, in my opinion, they had to have discussed the price at least 6 months beforehand. That's why a lot of people were, up in arms when Sony and Microsoft, they didn't reveal the price of their consoles until 3 months before launch. Usually they announce it 6 months before.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't, yes, I understand that maybe the tariffs had an impact. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand so many people are upset by these game price increases. And keep in mind, 5 years ago, we were still discussing the $70 price. When Sony, Activision, and 2K first made the jump, and everyone was fighting back saying, hey, wait a minute.
You're getting up into game prices. Let's stick to the console for now, because we're gonna get into game prices. Yeah, I'm gonna because I have a lot to say on that subject too.
Oh yeah, for the console price though. Am I upset that it's not $400? Yes. Am I glad that it's not $500 or $550? Absolutely. When it comes to the Mario Kart World Bundle, $50 over 80 to 90, yes, that's better. But pricing that at $500, man, especially
they're out of
with
their
the current
minds.
state of the economy, like putting at $400 for the base Switch 2, yes. $450 for the Switch 2 and Mario Kart World, that would have been better, in my opinion. But $500, man? No.
I'm gonna be honest. I still think your $450 price point is too high for your console. When your Nintendo Switch 1 was it was $299 for the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah.
$300 for so $150 more for the Nintendo Switch 2, when it's realistically not that, it is more powerful. I don't want to say it's not that much more powerful, but it's still
subpar. The PS4 Pro and Series S. It's in between there.
It is subpar. That's a good way to compare. It's subpar hardware to other things that are coming out and other things that will be coming out, and you are trying to charge more than what your current competition is in the form of things like the Steam Deck. So for that reason, I think their pricing is absolutely astronomical. A lot of people say, oh, well, it's not that bad. And I would say, well, you're not getting you're not getting the widespread third-party support. You're getting so much more value with the Steam Deck for $399 because, again, you have the entirety of Steam, which isn't charging you $80 for the games. Let's just keep that in mind as well, which, again, we'll dive more into the game prices. But
yeah.
You have access to your entire Steam library. You could get Game Pass on it. You can get you can get competitive storefronts on the Steam Deck for a lower price. You don't get, I saw, Holly was saying, well, there's Zelda, Kirby, Metroid, Animal Crossing, right? You got all that other, so you have, and Assassin, you said yourself, Nintendo games, they don't miss. They don't.
No, they rarely miss. They've had a couple of misses.
They've had a couple. So it's okay, so is paying for those exclusives worth weaker hardware with less accessibility? Because also, as Stormmage just pointed out, emulators are a thing.
You might want to touch on what Holly said.
You can't play Nintendo games anywhere else, but yes, you can. You can literally get emulators for a lot of Nintendo games, which the price of their hardware is going to convince more people to do. It is.
which is ironically what they don't want to do.
But
I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you saw the Twitter post earlier today when they were doing the Treehouse Live direct.
Yep. Let me see if I can't.
Other games.
Let me see if I can't.
The price.
Pull. Yeah, I wanna pull that up. Actually, I bookmarked that. So let's but here's the other thing too, right? Okay, you can't buy Nintendo games on any other system. Like, that's the argument. You want to get the exclusives. You're buying a Nintendo Switch because you want the exclusives. That's fine. Sure. Why not? I understand that. Here, let me just pull this up for a second.
Like, I guarantee you, if the prices were normal, like if they were just $70 instead of $90 to $80, I guarantee you and I would be having a much different conversation. Like, oh, we can't wait to play Mario Kart World together, bros. Like, no, we gotta talk about these freaking price hikes. God dang it.
So, Assassin, you can't see it, but we have to... Exactly, it would have been such a... They completely and utterly destroyed the entire reveal of... They destroyed the entire reveal of the system. Completely marred, which was again... I intentionally wanted to start the conversation with all the cool things that the Switch was doing, because it was really looking good up until that point, and I was willing to say, okay, fine, you're charging more for the console, like, okay, fine. But then they decided to say that it's going to be $80 for the games, $90 for the physical version of the game, which Nintendo is just literally serving you crap on a platter and saying, here, you'll still eat it, because the game isn't even on the discs, the cartridges. The game is not there. You have to still download it from online. Now, you can share the cartridge, which is the big difference, but they also introduced virtual sharing. So congratulations, which is a great feature. I'm fully in support of Nintendo doing that. Fully in support of Nintendo letting people share their games. But now you're completely invalidating the value of the cartridge that you're spending an extra $10 for, which the appropriate response... I don't think people would have batted an eye. I don't think people would have batted an eye if Nintendo said, hey, listen, we're actually going to keep the price of our games at $60, but if you want the physical edition, it's going to be $70. Now, they still would have opened up floodgates, because now every publisher on the planet would have started doing that, and we probably would have seen a lot of them that are currently charging, I'm looking at you, EA, looking at you, Activision, looking at you, 2K, that are going to be charging $70. They would have said, okay, well, it's $7. We're going to raise the price to $80 for the physical versions, right? So we would have seen some of that too. But Nintendo could have been a saint for maintaining $60 games at that price point and holding strong at that price point. And they would have had the Nintendo Switch, and people would have been excited, and people such as myself would have probably bought it. But they've utterly destroyed that. You can see this. There was like how many? It's 85,000 viewers here. 85,000 viewers.
How many dislikes does it have, though?
I don't know.
It would be so interesting to know. Man.
Drop the price.
Also,
drop the price. Drop the price.
Also, Stormmage, he perfectly sums it up. The brilliance of their show was completely destroyed by the ignorance of their pricing.
Yep.
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
And now here's
Come on.
Here's something, like, here's some food for thought, right? If you really think about it, that $90 price point or $80 for Mario Kart, maybe that's...
Also, the 90 is only for Mario Kart World.
It's only for Mario Kart.
80.
It's only for Mario Kart.
Like, why? Why? It's just Mario Kart and Forza Horizon together.
Which is
it's not worth the extra $10.
Complete wrong game to do that on. But if you think about it, Nintendo might be saying, okay, we're selling the bundle. It's only $50, right? If you buy the bundle with the console, so you're only paying $50 for Mario Kart. Therefore, we'll make up that difference, and then some. It will help make up the price, because they're probably selling the console at a little bit of a loss. We know that this is a common thing for consoles, because they're relying on the sales afterwards, right? Because you're locked into buying games on that system. So, Nintendo might have been saying, okay, well, we're giving the bundle away, so therefore we'll make up the difference by all of the fools who decide to buy Mario Kart at $80, and then we'll make up some of the price of the console as well, that we're losing because there's still a bunch of fools that are buying this game at $80. But no one's going to look at it that way. Not a single human person, besides probably me, is looking at it going, well, that's probably the reason why they're doing it. Which it might be. Maybe it's not. Maybe they're just testing the waters. It's very equally possible that they're just dipping a toe and seeing, are people going to spend $80 for a Nintendo game? Ooh, I don't know. People like Mario. You want more Mario?
I mean, if the backlash is any sort of indication, they've full stopped a lot of people. It's just a matter of is it enough people that they completely stopped? Because let's face it, Nintendo has their fanboys too. They're going to champion this move at pricing their games $80 to $90, $450 console. They're going to do it because they just love Nintendo.
Nintendo knows people will buy it.
And Nintendo apparently does no wrong to those people. You do you, man. That's not how it's supposed to be. But I don't think I have seen this much backlash for a console reveal since the Xbox One. But that was mainly because of the all-digital future, the bundle, the forcing of the Kinect with the console, $100 more than the PS4. Like, that was just, both same and different reasons. This time, though, it is Nintendo. You're pricing a $450 console. You're supposed to be the family-friendly console. And in an age, or in a time where the economy and inflation is skyrocketing, you want to price it that much higher?
Let me show something here too. Let me show. So you're paying all this money. You're paying for these games. Like, are you getting better hardware? Yes and no. I mean, so VGC said, will Switch 2 also have Joy-Con drift? Now, I don't think any controller is immune to this. I don't think any controller is immune to this. But look at the statements that they gave in regards to this, right? And this just adds insult to injury. They asked Nintendo. They said the control sticks for Joy-Con 2 have been redesigned and have improved in areas such as durability. Does that convince you? Does that then they had hardware design lead Tetsuya Sasaki also responded. He said, "As you may have witnessed and felt, the new Joy-Con 2 controllers for the Nintendo Switch have been designed from the ground up, from scratch, to have a bigger movement and smoother movement." So, like, the biggest complaint that people had about your system isn't even addressed. That does not comfort me at all.
Yeah, it was
in
the
the
Joy-Con
slightest.
Yeah. In
the slightest.
That was literally the... I don't remember the poll, but I think it was IGN who did it. They asked, what was your biggest complaint about the Switch generation, right? Very first one, I think it was like 70% was the Joy-Con drift. Like, that is the biggest complaint that your customers have had for 7-8 years.
You'd think they said, listen, like, you know what the response you'd want to hear from that? Listen, it's almost impossible to get rid of stick drift entirely. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
Storm Mage.
The least they are, yeah. So they say, oh, like, look, it's really hard. Like, we can't predict all situations that might result in stick drift, but we have went through rigorous testing, and it is substantially improved durability than before. And they used that word, they used durability, but those answers did not convince me whatsoever.
No, don't tell me Storm Mage, you're not. $90 Joy-Con?
Yep,
done.
$90 Joy-Cons too. Yeah. Oh,
I'm done.
You want replacement Joy-Cons?
Fuck off. How much is the Switch 2 Pro controller?
Here you go. Nintendo Switch Joy-Con. Yeah, let's pull this up as well. I can pull this full screen.
Oh, no. Can you tell me the Switch 2 Pro controller?
There you go.
Price.
$89.99. The Nintendo Switch Joy-Con 2 are priced at $89.99, while the Switch Pro controller is $79.99. So there you go.
Okay.
Buy your Joy-Cons. Once you start getting your inevitable stick drift, enjoy spending the price of Mario Kart, apparently, to get a new controller to be able to play Mario Kart.
You realize that if you buy the Switch 2 by itself,
oh my God,
a copy of Mario Kart World with a Switch 2 Pro controller and an extra set of Joy-Cons, that's almost as much money as the PS5 Pro.
It's like, listen, it's you for the price of the hardware this is why Nintendo is completely and utterly lost their minds. The Joy-Cons, the system, the games, the Nintendo camera, which I know is optional. The Pro could, like, you add all this stuff up, you're looking at the price of a low to medium PC.
Same as the PS5 Pro last year.
Make it make sense.
Oh,
now, the
man.
justifications that I'm seeing online, I wanted to go over this too, because there's a couple things.
Yeah.
People saying, oh, like, it's fine that games are going up in price. It's going to be $80. I'll pay $10 more. Like, games haven't gone up in price in years. And back in the day, it was actually $70 for video games. Okay, that's fantastic. Good for you. Have you also considered that, well, if we're talking about you're making the inflation argument, one, the most common and easiest rebuttal against that is, has your salary gone up at the rate of inflation? Because, I don't know, mine certainly has it. I don't think most people's has. So that's just and just generally, it's objectively a fact, right? This isn't subjective. This is objectively true that wages have not kept up with inflation at all. Fact number 2 is that monetization hasn't gone down. So notice whenever this argument comes up, that it's always, oh, well, as long as it means I'm going to continue to get higher quality games, I don't mind paying that much more. But have games really gone up that much in quality? Like, has there been a substantial amount of things that you go, actually, this is worth $70 instead of maybe for some people there's particular games. I'll accept that, right? Assassin, you have games. You have games you love. I have games I love, and you go, I would actually pay $70 for that.
Yeah, like for me, and I know you and I have disagreed on this, but because Atlas has released so many high quality games these past few years, sure, maybe I'll give another 10. But that's pushing it, right?
There's subjective,
you can make that argument for Nintendo as well. Like you said, Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Look great.
You and I both would love to play that game in July, right? Mm-hmm. We would absolutely love to play it. But if it was at $70, that's I'm not gonna say that's a better price because there's some games that are priced at $60.
And here's the thing.
But 70 is better than 90.
So $80, like, there's always going to be subjective cases. I acknowledge that there's games I would pay more for, right? I understand that because I'm not immune to that either. But there's still, it's not as though we didn't get rid of season passes. We still see macro transactions up the wazoo where people are paying $20 for a single skin, which is insane. You have battle passes, you have deluxe editions, special editions, ultra deluxe editions, maximum editions. So you have 80 editions where the game price goes up to $120 anyway. So congratulations. Like, once $70 came out, we didn't stop seeing less editions. People said, oh, well, if games go up to $70, then we're going to start seeing more benefits from that. No, congratulations, your edition that had all the deluxe content that was normally $120, that still exists, and it just went up to $130.
The collector's editions
good job.
Too as well.
Collector's editions too. So
especially with
good job.
Collector's editions only doing digital downloads, not even giving you a physical copy either.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Death Stranding 2, that was a big controversy last month.
Exactly.
Also, I sent you a link to the Switch 2 subreddits. If you click on it, just look at the top comment, because I actually saw that on Twitter. I was like, yeah, we could do it. Will they actually respond though? So we can just pull that up.
All right, yeah, let's pull it up.
Yeah.
So other things too, while I pull this up, right? The other argument, but before I pull this up, the other argument is people saying, well, I would happily support the devs. I see that all the time. Well, I would happily support the devs. Like, they're working hard. We don't want to see any more layoffs. These companies are doing fine. Stop white knighting for these corporations that do not give a crap about. I'm sorry.
That make billions.
They don't care. Nintendo in 2024 made over $6 billion with a B. $6 billion. EA made $5.8 billion. Their net was actually up 2% year over year, despite having massive amounts of layoffs. Keep in mind, all these companies, except Nintendo, they were good with it. All these companies had layoffs, extreme layoffs. So EA's revenue was actually up 2%, which, it's like, oh, it's 2%. Well, they were at $5.8 billion. So do 2% of $5.8 billion, and you tell me how much money that is. Microsoft's gaming division made $21.5 billion in 2024. It was a record amount of profit for Microsoft.
And how many layoffs again? I think it was like
record amount. So your money is not going, when you're like, I would happily spend, and people were saying it in chat. At the beginning of the stream, people were saying, well, Sony's charging $10 for upgrade. They sort of broke down the floodgates for that one. Now Nintendo's charging $20 for upgrades. Yes, and people are like, well, I'd happily spend $10 because it's like a better version of the game and like the devs and blah. They made the exact same arguments. And now Nintendo's
Okay,
doing $20.
Here's a question for you. So, we've seen Sony charge $10 for the upgrades for PS4 to PS5 games. Nintendo's charging $20 for Switch 1 to Switch 2. Is it possible, and I know a lot of people are immediately going to say no, but I want you to really think on this. Is it possible, now that Microsoft has more of their hands into Xbox, could we see them change their particular view on upgrades as well? Like before, Phil Spencer said it himself, he does not want people to be forced to pay to upgrade. But if things are to be believed, Phil is not the one calling the major shots anymore. That would be Satya and Amy Hood. If Nintendo gets away with it, and Sony's gotten away with it, could we see Microsoft try? Not saying they'll succeed, but could we see them try?
I think
Either
that Microsoft
at the end of this gen or starting next gen.
I think that Microsoft has a really great bargaining chip at the moment, especially with new consoles that are coming soon-ish, right? I think Microsoft at the moment...
Just food for thought. I'm not wishing for it to happen, but this is a possible. This could be a possibility.
Just imagine, like, because we always see when, like, we get towards that new generation, right? Remember, like, Microsoft came out, or no, it was Sony. Sony was like, how do you share games with PlayStation, right? That was hysterical. I loved it. And they were like, here's the disc. And they just handed it to the other guy.
I remember that.
Right? So, like, they always sort of, like, come at each other in those clever ways, and I like it. I would love to see Microsoft, when these next generation of consoles come around, say, oh, and by the way, like, you see all these great games that we're going to be... Because Microsoft has always been about that, at least up until, like, for now, at the very least, where they're saying, look, we're bringing all these games. We want to make sure that you can play them, whether it's on Xbox 360 or Xbox One. Now you can play them on the Xbox series of consoles. Now you have the Xbox... whatever the next version is going to be called. I don't even know at this point. And they say, yeah, we're continuing that trend. Hey, you want to see how you upgrade your game on Xbox? Hit the download button. No credit card required, right? So they can have a really strong campaign around that.
Like you can have, like, Phil Spencer. He can sit in front of the couch and he looks at the camera and goes, here's how you upgrade from Series X to the next Xbox.
Boop.
And, you know, the title screen shows up for 5 seconds. Download button. There you go. And then the Xbox
now you got
shows up to the end.
I would love to see that. So I think they have some really strong positioning. Whether or not they'll take that advantage of that, it remains to be seen. I can't quite say for sure on that one.
Their marketing sucks. I'm sorry. Like, the marketing for South of Midnight is non-existent at best and atrocious at worst.
Yeah. But so for Nintendo, you know, them charging more for upgrades, them charging more for these games, it's completely unwarranted, it's completely unjustified. Nobody is winning in this situation. It's the same reason why I'm adamant about, like, I went on a rant on Tuesday about spending for the FOMO tax on games with this early access practice, because gamers are not getting anything out of it. And I'm always going to be on the sides of the gamers. I'm not going to be on a side where I say, hey, let's support this corporation that's making $21 billion or $6 billion or $5.8 billion. I'm going to say, what makes sense for the consumer? What makes sense for the consumer is not to have to pay for upgrades because you already bought the game and it's yours and you own it and you should be able to carry that over. It's not paying $10 to play a game 5 days early when the game is finished and all they need to do is tie that to a pre-order bonus. Hey, because ultimately, like I said on Tuesday's show, ultimately the benefit that you get that people used to justify is, well, you're also getting an expansion as part of it. That's usually the argument that you see. Some of them aren't even doing that. They're just pissing on you without even calling it rain. Like Nintendo. Yeah. Nintendo, I was watched Penguin's video on it today. And he just said, he said it great. He's like, yeah, Nintendo, if you were dying of dehydration in the desert, Nintendo would charge you $80 to piss in your mouth so that you survive. Like, it's just absolutely insane. And they don't care. They don't care about you. This FOMO tax
Yeah.
is abysmal. I will never support it. The $10 upgrades for these games, I never supported on PlayStation. Now it's $20. Congratulations, everybody. You did this yourselves. So vote. I'm
Now
not
there's a
saying my
chance that
audience,
Microsoft
because
could do
my
it. I'm
audience
just
is
saying.
smart. What was that?
I was just saying now that Microsoft may look at how Sony and if Microsoft looks and sees Sony and Nintendo get away with it, like yeah, they're gonna try and do it.
Yeah.
There's just no way around
So
it.
my
Two of the
actual
big three dragons going to the dark side, yeah, the third one's inevitably gonna follow.
So my actual thing, and like a lot of this is not unique points. I'm sure many of you have heard this discussed in other places. So thank you for listening to me ramble about it and Assassin ramble about it here tonight. But the thing that I want to try to offer at least a little bit of a unique perspective into it, where I don't see as many people talking about, and I've been pretty vocal about this on Twitter, but my concern now is actually Game Pass. And the reason why is because Game Pass is going to look like an increasingly stronger value. All Microsoft needs to do is keep their prices as they are for a while longer as Nintendo starts to push out these games. You wait, right? Plenty of people have already said, great, now Nintendo, like the reason why Nintendo screwed everybody in the thumbnail, that's what I said, is because now the floodgates are open for these priced games. I said it.
Not yet.
I said it on, well, I
Not
said it
yet.
on Twitter. I said it on Twitter, but I'll say it here. I think that if 2K was ever going to charge the $80 or the $100 or whatever, I think $100 was always ridiculous. But if 2K was going to try to get away with a $70 or I'm sorry, an $80 priced game for GTA 6, they were going to do it anyway. They know they can do. 2K is well aware that they're holding every single card right now. Let's just be real. Other publishers, and again, I heard this during Jacksepticeye's stream. I know that in the past I've said, oh well, other developers don't really need to worry about game releases besides GTA. I was watching Jacksepticeye stream the Nintendo event, and he said, he's like, I talked to my friends in game development, because obviously he knows people with his popularity, and he's like, I've talked to my friends who are working at these companies, and they said, yeah, we are just waiting to see what GTA does, because we're terrified of that game. So, yes, studios are scared about it. Grand Theft Auto can get away with whatever they want. If they wanted to charge $70, they were going to do it. Now, they're just not going to be the villains, because Nintendo thankfully did it for them. Thankfully, did it for them first.
Not
and
yet.
that's an
Hold
issue.
on. Wait. Not yet. Not yet. And the reason why I sent you that link to Reddit is because... Did you pull it up, by the way?
I did. I showed it, yeah, on screen with the Squidward.
Yeah, but did you see the top comment, though?
I did. I'm gonna just reread it. It says they had two major bummers at this time. I don't think Switch 2 will be the same. Also, the new execs don't seem to care is a top comment. Or we can do it again, guys. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, we can do it again. The 3DS had a similar problem. Overpriced, but like Nintendo fans were pretty adamant about it, and they bumped down the price. Same thing happened with the Xbox One. Like with enough backlash, you can force companies to do anything. They got rid of the Kinect. They bumped the price down $100. It may have been too late, but they did it anyway. What I'm saying is not yet. Is this enough backlash to make consumers vehemently, repeatedly say to Nintendo, this is not it, Chief. We are not buying this. We're not supporting this. Will it be enough? Now, if it is enough, and Nintendo brings down the price of their games, and maybe brings down the price of their console, then yeah, maybe 2K will back off and all these other publishers may back off. But if it succeeds, then yes, the dystopic future that you're worried about, where all these publishers will go, well, Nintendo got away with it, we can get away with it too. Mm-hmm. Then I'll be like, then I will absolutely hold your hand as the nuclear bomb is dropped and, you know, we're forced to
singing Kumbaya in a circle around our Nintendo's grave. As they bomb themselves.
I sincerely hope
it is hopeful.
The backlash is sincere.
It is hopeful.
Enough people. I never thought I would say this about Nintendo, but I hope the Switch 2 bombs like the Wii U. I hope it does, because it needs to. In order for this industry to stave off, you know, the upcoming crash just a bit longer, it needs to fail. I'm sorry, Nintendo, but you need to fail.
They need to be taken down. They need to be taken down a notch.
Now, for me personally, I'm going to give them a black eye in my own way. So, originally, me and my girlfriend, we're going to get 2 Switch 2s, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to say F off, we're going to sell her Switches. I have a Switch OLED. She has a Switch V2, a version 2 Switch. I'm going to sell those 2 and some of my own games. And we're going to get the damn Switch 2 for free at GameStop. And say, fuck you, Nintendo.
You still gotta buy.
We got the thing for free.
You still gotta buy. Well, it's not. It is, and it's free-ish to you, right? You still gotta sell things.
The only game I'm getting this year for the Switch 2 at all is Pokemon Legends Vita A, because I know my girlfriend loves Pokemon.
I don't know.
And we actually have a deal.
I don't know if Nintendo really cares.
If I play, I know they won't care, but it's my own version of a black eye. They're not getting any money. And they've lost a consumer, which is me.
Yeah, that's not exactly how that works, right? Because they're just looking
it's not how it works, but it's the only way that I can say, hey, I'm not getting Mario Kart World, I'm not getting Donkey Kong Bonanza, I'm only getting Pokemon. You just lost 2 Switches. We got the Switch 2 basically for free, because, I'm a GameStop Pro member, so I get more trade back. So yeah. I mean, it's not exactly the black eye that I was hoping to give.
I think the black eye would be not getting a Switch 2.
Well,
that would be.
Are they really making any money?
Yes.
If I trade
they
in
don't.
stuff?
They're seeing units move off the shelf. So Nintendo goes, we got units off the shelf, right? It's not like you're turning in your Nintendo Switch to Nintendo and Nintendo's like, okay, here's money. It's GameStop giving you that money.
Well.
So
I don't know.
It's.
I think
really...
I think it's a black eye. You may disagree, but, I'm not playing any Switch games this year after this. Hell, I'll get rid of all my Switch games.
Yeah, I would personally advise waiting if you're adamant about all of this, then I would personally advise waiting, or I would argue to make the transition to the Steam Deck, if I'm being brutally honest. No, you can't play Mario Kart. You can emulate it, so technically you can. But I would recommend migrating to Steam Deck.
She does not want a Steam Deck. She wants to play Pokemon. I'm
sorry.
Well,
you could emulate Pokemon on your Steam Deck, so...
We do not know.
Yeah, you can. You literally can. So, just...
I'm not going to resort to piracy.
Well, listen.
I'm not a pirate.
Nintendo wants you to. That's what they're saying with these prices, in my opinion. They're saying, please, pirate our games. We want you to, because we know this is absolutely
wait.
absurd.
All right. Wait. Okay. Better idea. I'll wait until the Switch 2 launch day and see maybe if they come to their senses by then. Maybe they'll have dumped down the prices by then. If not, then, well, we just won't get one.
We'll see. That's a better way to look at it. So, yeah. So Steam Deck.
Chris asked me why do I want Nintendo to fail?
Hey Chris, how's it going? Welcome.
Yeah, Chris asked, wait, why do I want them to fail? Because if they succeed, then we'll be paying $110 for GTA 6, and game prices will get worse. And I don't think I really need to explain more, do I?
No. So my concern, just to wrap up this thought here, my concern is really that we'll see, right? So now if games hypothetically start going up to $80, $90, now Game Pass has a ton of value. A lot more. It already has a lot of value. I think Game Pass is a great program. But now it has a lot. But I also buy, even if I'm subscribed to Game Pass, I will still buy a lot of my games. And I typically use Game Pass for like 2 or 3 things. For example, Call of Duty came out. I knew I didn't want to pay full price for Call of Duty. So I subscribed to Game Pass for a couple months, tried out a couple other things on Game Pass, and then inevitably, like, utilize the discount even, because you get cheaper, you get a discount on games if you're subscribed. And then once I was tired of Call of Duty, I did move on. So, assuming that Nintendo's like, hey, we're doing $80, other studios look at that and go, we're also going to do $80 games now. GTA 6 releases for $80. Other studios follow suit, 2K, Epic, Borderlands is also 2K. So now we have $80 as a new norm for games for a lot of them. More people turn to Game Pass Game Pass goes up in value. More people turn to it, more subscriptions. Game Pass decides to raise their prices. But now a lot of people are locked into Game Pass because they haven't been buying their games, and they lose their entire library if they step away from Game Pass. New competitors enter the market. We see a same balloon that we saw with streaming services. And I think we're actually really heading down exactly that same price, that same road, right? Because it's what happened with the film and TVs, or movies specifically. Movie tickets went up to $18 a ticket, $20 a ticket in some cases. So you have movie prices go up. People are like, I'm not spending that. I'd rather watch it at home. Now, streaming services exploded, especially during COVID. They got tons and tons of content. Then a lot of competitors entered the market. Prices kept going up and up and up. People started cutting back on that. Now all those services are screwed. Disney's like, crap, what do we do? Hulu's like, crap, what do we do? All these places are screwed. Now we're actually seeing a bit of a reversal where a lot of things are doing theater releases only. I just saw a statement, I think it was from AMC's CEO, maybe, who talked to a bunch of major movie networks or movie production companies, and they said, yeah, we want to go back to like the extended, I think it was, 45-day release windows where movies have to stay in the theaters for that long. So we're seeing a bit of a reversal, but that's because it took having these streaming bubbles pop. I think we might be at risk. And of course, all the while we saw this happen, we saw the quality of things that were put out on these streaming services decrease. The frequency of content decrease, the quality of that content decrease. And I'm worried that we're going to kind of see, there were some highlights, right? Fallout came out, Fallout TV show. But we're going to see I'm worried we're going to see the same thing with gaming. We're actually, prices are going up for games. It's getting too exorbitant. People subscribe to these subscription services. Because the value of these subscription services go up, more competitors enter the market. Now people's wallets are diluted. The quality of the things entering these services go down because, of course, these companies aren't making enough money to continue the exorbitant game development that's going on. They can't have $500 million games or more. And now suddenly we kind of have that bubble pop. We have to take a couple steps back before we go forward. I don't think that we're going to see a video game crash, but I am worried about what might happen in that regard. I know that was a whole mouthful. Assassin, you've been a very great listener. Any thoughts on any of that?
I mean, no, you pretty much hit on every single major point that I would say about it, if I'm being honest.
So let me know, chat. Let me know if you think that's our dystopic future that we're heading towards. Again, ideally we see a situation where this completely backfires on Nintendo, and at least from that, it was the Treehouse event, I think it's called, where we played that clip of just everyone unanimously saying...
I think Chris actually disagrees with us. Go.
I don't entirely agree, but I see your point.
Like, if Nintendo increases their games, why wouldn't all these other publishers follow suit? Like, they're seeing the true market leader get away with it. So, of course, why wouldn't they follow it?
Nintendo is niche. Nintendo is niche, right? But I think part of the issue...
150 million Switches are not... That is not niche. That is the market leader. That is the second most selling console of all time. 6 of their first-party games have sold more than 20 million copies. Animal Crossing was considered niche. And then Animal Crossing New Horizons came and it sold 30 million copies. Which I know came out during the pandemic. But still, Animal Crossing is now considered one of their biggest IPs when it wasn't. 6 years ago. So, no, they're not niche. Not anymore.
Deciding which way to point. The guy, he's got some good arguments right there. $30 million is pretty good. 30 million units, sorry. It's pretty good arguments. So I think I understand what Chris is saying though in regards to the exclusivity that Nintendo brings, right? So you're tapping into a smaller market that you can't get anywhere else. So
Oh, Arcane.
Yeah, Chris doesn't talk about sales. That's what I figured, Chris. I figured you'd talk about.
Okay, I thought he was. All right, maybe I'm just misunderstanding.
No, it's just
Arcane. You know what? I hope this shit succeeds. We should speed up towards this crash. I don't want to speed up, man.
I don't think we'd have a crash either.
Fable
I think
before it crashes either, man.
We're gonna go out on a whimper.
Fable first.
We're gonna go out on a whimper. It's not going to be a crash. That's the issue. It's going to be a very slow bleed, very slow bleed, and it's just going to go slower because, of course, these companies are going to cling on, and of course, you have a lot of whales. You have a lot of whales because the other thing people like, the other argument I commonly hear is like, oh, well, we can't do anything about it anyway, so, this is just the way it is, and game prices are going to go up, and that's just what it is, so we should, like, the same exact argument for people who are buying the FOMO tax stuff was, oh, well, it's just the way it is, like, I don't mind doing it, it's just, it is what it is. It's like, no, well, it is what it is. It is what it is because there's too many people like you that are just accepting and letting companies walk over us like this. That's why it is what it is. It's not, that isn't what it has to be. It's what you're letting it be, which is a very important distinction. Yeah, Nintendo is a niche console because it does have the exclusives that it has. You can't, again, you really can't play, you can't get experiences either, like Mario Kart or Donkey Kong or Mario Party. Like, that doesn't
Okay, I'm confused about the whole niche, because for me, niche is either something that's underrated or unknown. Like, the Souls genre was underrated and unknown before it actually became, like, mainstream.
Yeah, I understand your
that's
definition.
what niche is to me.
I understand what you're saying. I get both your sides. So basically, it's just that there's only one way to enter that market in this case, right? There's only one way to enter Nintendo. That's legal, which is to say you buy a Nintendo, then you could play all these Nintendo exclusive titles. So it exists, kind of independently of all the, yeah, there you go. Niche means it exists within its own corner, as Jonah said. That's a good way to put it.
Kenshi is niche, not Nintendo. What? Who the heck? Who's Kenshi?
That's why it's niche.
Is it?
I think it's a good thing. It'll quicken the competition.
Yeah, see the thing, Jonas. The thing that I disagree with. Oh, they are niche though. It's just that every casual gamer, they say Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. Nintendo is not. This is what I don't say I hate it, but I dislike it when people want to include Nintendo or don't. Like, Nintendo is a part of our industry. They are the big three.
Yeah,
Nintendo,
and I think,
in my opinion, is not niche. Just because there's one way to play their games, that doesn't make it niche. That just means that they're successful. Like, how many consoles have they sold? How many games have they sold? Like, they are successful. They are the true market leader. Another reason why I hate it, and I say this as a PlayStation fan, Sony's not the market leader. Sony copies whatever Nintendo and Microsoft do. Like, they weren't even considering paying for online multiplayer until Microsoft did it first. Like, this is...
They sort of trade places.
Like, Nintendo, like, you either include Nintendo or you don't. And for me, I do. So, they are just above Microsoft and Nintendo for how successful they are. And for how well-known their games are. When you think of video games, you think of Mario. You think of Zelda. You think of Kratos. You think of...
Master Chief.
Resident Evil. You think of Final Fantasy. Master Chief, yes.
Yeah, I think you're both kind of... You both have correct statements. You're just looking at it through a different lens, if that makes sense. Which is fine. That's totally fair. Yeah. I think both of you have correct points. The one thing I can say is Nintendo, especially with the Switch 2, the Switch 2 Direct had such an emphasis on okay, Chris, there you go. They sell an experience that you can't get on other systems, which I would argue is becoming less true.
Really?
Unless you're talking specifically about exclusive titles, right? Then yes, they literally have an experience you can't play on other systems because you can't play Mario Kart elsewhere. But that's a good way to put it,
If you're talking
Chris.
about, like, an experience in terms of a video game, I would argue that Sony actually just hit that market with Astro Bot. Maybe it's because we haven't seen a 3D Mario in a long time.
We're starting to see...
Like, Astro Bot hit a niche.
We're starting to see some interesting developments on that front, too, because I would even say things like just the increase in mobile, like the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, the Xbox handheld that will be coming, right? So now it's not really... what the Switch did and what the Switch put in motion as far as handheld and portable gaming is no longer unique in the industry. But you're still not playing Mario Party on a PlayStation or an Xbox is ultimately what they're getting at. And that is true.
Yeah. By the way, DeMarco, don't you think you need to eat?
I do need to eat soon. Yeah, I do need to eat. The last thing I'll say on it all is that I do want to make the point, too, that I think that Nintendo is sort of opening themselves up to more of this competition, right? I said it on Twitter, but Nintendo, with the heavy focus on a third party during the Nintendo Direct 2, I think it was assigned to me. The way I took that was that they wanted to be competitive with these other platforms. They wanted to say, hey, look, we can run these games, we have them, and then on top of that, we also have all the things you can't play anywhere else. But if Nintendo wants to sort of step up and... I bought a new... so I can only give a little love. Thank you, Chris, for the little... Congratulations on the new one. What did you get? That is fun to be able to go to a range and stuff, which I've done before. I've had a lot of fun.
I've done it too. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun.
Chris, I don't know exactly where Chris lives, so I don't know what legality of firearms he's allowed to obtain.
In Texas, it's very easy to get a gun. It's kind of a running joke down here.
Not in New York.
You get a pack of beer. You get a beer and you go. Hey, they go. Hey, do you want a gun?
Shadow System
sure.
XR. I'll have to look at what that is because I have no idea. And being a New Yorker,
He lives in Ohio.
That's really fun. I live in Ohio. I can own anything. There you go. That does look really fun. I'm just looking at images. That is really cool. Congratulations. And thank you, Chris, as always, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. What is it? So, yeah. I think Nintendo wants to try to be more competitive with all these other systems, but this isn't the way to do it. So that's the last thing I'll really say on that matter. Any other final thoughts before we sort of wrap up here?
Yeah, look, I want all video game publishers and companies to succeed, but they have to be within consumers' bounds. Like, this is not... Like, any type of hype that they've had for the Switch 2 and all of their games and the third-party support, it is either divisive at best or atrocious at worst.
Mm-hmm.
This is not... I did not expect anybody to be talking about Nintendo like this after that Direct. I hope that they can course correct before they release the console in June. Man, I hope they listen. I really hope they listen to their fans, because, like I said, I want the developers to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
That also means these corporations, quote unquote, have to succeed. Unfortunately.
We'll see.
We'll
see where it goes.
I hope within a month we get a blog post saying, "Hey, we've heard your feedback.
We're
putting down the prices of games. We're sorry. We've learned our lesson." And like, hey, Mario Kart World is $70 again, and you and I can both be excited and actually play a Nintendo console together, because that would be nice.
That'd be cool. But
yeah, you and
maybe
I can play
not
Smash.
We might have to wait for the Switch 3. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out here tonight. Appreciate all of you, as always. Be sure to check out next week, 6:30, same DeMarco time, same DeMarco place. And, of course, you can find Assassin, myself, Red, and Holly over on the Renegade Realm podcast at 6 p.m. on Tuesday if you need an extra dose, which I know a lot of you do come over from that show also. So thank you guys for checking out both of them. Chris, thank you as well for the generous, as always, support for the channel. Between that and, of course, all of our gifted members here are thanks to yourself, Chris, and Assassin as well. So thank you to the both of you for showing some love. Be sure to share some of those emotes in the chat. They're always fun. I don't do any specific unique benefits for channel membership, so there you go. But thank you to all our channel members as well, and specifically the two of you for contributing it to that. That is our show for tonight. Thank you, Assassin, for joining. You want to tell us what you're working on a little bit before we fully check out? Your link is in the description, so if people want to check out your channel, it is there. But you got anything fun?
So I'm working on a video about 10 video games from Eastern developers, so developers from Japan, Korea, China, that I'm personally excited for, and I think that maybe some people in here may decide to take a look at, and hopefully those developers and publishers that are making those games don't charge $80 for those games. So if that interests you, go ahead and hit that sub on my channel, if you wouldn't mind. Would you kindly, please?
Would you kindly? Good Bioshock reference there for a great game. Hopefully we get Clockwork Revolution soon, too.
Hey, man, I hope we get to see the new Bioshock soon this year. It has to be this.
Well, we got Judas.
It has to be the year. Or Judas.
It's all
one of the two.
Thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out here, and I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody. Oh, Val Kilmer, you're right. Oh, god damn. Batman. Why'd you have to bring that up now, Chris? God damn it. Now I'm depressed.
We're seeing so many Batman actors bite the bullet.
Way to end the show. You could say it one more time.
Play South of Midnight.
There you go. Celebrate Val Kilmer. We gotta celebrate him. I'm gonna go watch Batman this week. That's how I'll celebrate.